Hi everybody, my name is Paige Eagle and this is my literacy autobiography. I just want to start with my very earliest memory of learning English as a subject, and I think that was like book buddies in elementary school. The fifth graders would come in and they would teach the younger grades what words meant and what was going on in the books. They'd read to us and show us oh, this is what this character is doing. And that's kind of the first time that I really think I uh, started to grasp oh, characters, and this is what plot means. Maybe not plot yet, but characters definitely. And even if I didn't have the vocabulary for plot, what goes on in the story was definitely, what I was learning at that point. I mean, to dig a little bit deeper, slightly deeper level, on the next trip I want to take on my literacy timeline journey is the first time in class that we read a real chapter book, and our teacher had us engage with the text in a way that we really hadn't before. And I think this was with Jerry Spinelli's Stargirl in the fourth grade, and I still love this book to this day. I would definitely read it to my future children if I have any, and I mean, I'm open to teaching it in class if I ever do a younger grade. But I thought this was a great introduction to reading as analysis, even if it was very simple because we were very young, because, it must have been a meaningful experience to me because I remember it to this day, regardless of this happening 15 years ago. Yeah, I think this is a great introduction to reading as analysis because it's simple but also very engaging, and I think that was a great book to teach fourth graders. In seventh grade, I came into contact with my very first proper book report. We were all assigned to read the same book in class, and it was A Raisin in the Sun. And we had to use our seventh grade literary analysis skills to report on the book. I think this was a meaningful experience for me because, other than little presentations and small paragraph writing practices, and maybe just presentations dioramas, I guess book reports in the sense of a presentation to the class on shorter books, obviously. I hadn't really run into a real book report before, as far as I can remember. This was the first proper analysis, text-based book report that I had to write and turn in, that didn't involve a diorama of any kind. However, in the ninth grade, the idea of the book report was challenged to me a bit because my English teacher allowed us to pick a book that was reported on, and she really let us pick it. She didn't just give us a list of, predetermined acceptable books. She said, to run it by her to make sure it wasn't whatever, but pretty much anything was fine. So of course I had to pick the adolescent classic, John Green's Paper Towns. Naturally. The genius that is John Green's Paper Towns is actually what I wrote here. So this experience was meaningful to me because it gave me a sort of agency and analysis that I hadn't been privileged with yet. And I think providing with students with more agency in their learning is what keeps them engaged. And I think that really helped me a lot because I found this book that, I really liked already, and I was like, oh, I just read this anyway. And I always kind of viewed reading and just as entertainment for me rather than critical analysis. So when I was given the opportunity to actually, talk about it, it was really fun for me. And I wasn't necessarily a top grade A student at that point yet. In the 11th grade, the conventional book report and literary analysis was challenged yet again by my wonderful American literature teacher, who assigned us a creative project rather than a final formal analysis for our final project. The unit was called The Gleaming Jungle. I actually made a painting for this unit, and I had this whole rationale, and it was great. It was so fun. I wish I still had it, but I have this small picture. We wrote rationale for our creative piece. We were able to really test our creativity in order to really wrap up what we had learned and read throughout the semester. And I think that's great because not all students excel at formal analysis, and some are able to, explain in more artistic ways. And I think, again, that's something that I might use in my classroom, and I think it's great because of the agency that it gives students. I'm seeing that I'm a little bit over time, but the very last thing is perhaps one of my favorite classes from my time as an undergraduate was when I took Adolescence in Literature with Dr. Matos, if anybody's had him. And I found this class to be extremely freeing because it allowed us to really push the boundaries of discussion on what was literary and like what should and should not be taught. And boundaries of discussion. So we reread the book They Both Die at the End by Alice Silvera, which ended up actually being one of my most favorite books ever. And I've reread it very many times since then. Like, it's just so amazing. It has a lot to offer for analysis. The course really challenged my own idea of like what should or should not be taught as literature, and what is literature, and like maybe helped me to be more comfortable pushing norms of what I'd be comfortable teaching as a teacher. And I think it gave me a lot of cool ideas for future lessons. So that is my literacy autobiography, and I hope you guys related to it.